Let's now get the, more comment around this particular matter. Legal Resources Centre attorney Shaatirah Baboo joins us now via video link as we look at the legal recourse in this matter. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. So at the heart of this case, essentially what we understand is a family in conflict as it relates to the battle for custody of the children. But the scenes we saw on that video that went viral can never be justified. Just give us your observations, firstly, of the incident at the school and following the case before the courts. What legal recourse should be taken in this particular case?
Hi, good afternoon. So obviously, just seeing everything that has been on social media is quite disturbing regarding this matter. We don't have full details or the facts with regards to the custody issues between the father and the late mother's family and so forth. But just at the outset, obviously, any criminality on the part of the father or his family will be viewed very seriously in a civil court or the children's court in respect of any custody matter before that court. So I think it's very detrimental to the father's case, the incident that took place. If there is anything before the court in terms of custody, it will obviously be taken very seriously by that court. And then it also, the facts before us, or from the few details that we do have, it's, at the core of any family issue is the best interest of the children. And obviously from what we've seen, the behavior from the grandfather and the father does not seem in the best interest of the children, and that will be taken very seriously by any children's court or civil court.
And I want to go to the detail of the custody battle, even though we don't have much detail. But just on another matter, I mean, there's also a traumatized schooling community as well as the community at large. We saw, of course, with the burning of that particular church. In as far as the trauma and the fear on the other learners that were present at the time of the incident, where machetes or pangas were wielded around, is there any legal recourse for the parents of those pupils? Because we know that, up to date, some pupils haven't gone back to school just because they are still traumatized.
So it's very pleasing to hear what the reporter said, that DBE, Gauteng DBE got involved, and there's some psychosocial services being offered, and that learners and parents can make use of that services, which is crucial and important. From what we've seen, the trauma that they must have faced was quite dramatic and so forth. But in respect of recourse, obviously the facts would need to be unpacked further for learners who was witness or in the same space where that panga was being wielded. It's quite serious. So in respect of any recourse, at the outset, psychosocial services is great. But with regards to any civil or any type of criminality, that will obviously have to be viewed in respect of each specific learner.
Just going back to, the custody battle, and as you've also pointed out, that we don't know much at this point in time. I would imagine that will be, revealed closer to, as soon as we understand more from this particular case. But what we do know so far is that, of course, these children were kept with the maternal side of the family. The maternal grandmother, in fact, is now also one of the suspects remanded behind bars. In this event, what happens now, given the fact that the children are now with the paternal side of the family, and there is then this legal battle? Let's say, for instance, that the maternal family had legal recourse and they had the legal rights to have these children, because what we're also hearing is that there's also a separation of siblings in this particular case, where two were removed and the other siblings were then left behind.
So again, because the details are very vague at this stage, we're not aware of what's happening in terms of any custody battle before a children's court or any other civil court. It would obviously be open for example, the family advocate or social services to investigate further in respect of whose custody the children are in at the moment, and what the circumstances around that is in respect of safety. And again, their best interest is, paramount in these type of cases. So I would assume and I would hope that any matter that's pending before court in terms of the custody issues will be seriously reevaluated in terms of the new incident that took place, and custody and any sharing of parenting and any types of agreements being evaluated at this stage will be reevaluated and further investigated. It's quite sad, actually, because these children depend on paternal and the maternal side of the family to take care of them, and at this stage it seems that both sides, their best interest can be viewed differently now for both sides. It's quite concerning.
What this has also revealed is that, of course, there's still so much animosity as it relates to the law in this case when we talk about custody battles. And as you said, children must always be put, front and center. But just legally in South Africa, why is it so difficult to have these matters settled in the best interest of the children?
So at the outset, I think it always depends on the parties, right? The parents of the children, firstly, and whether or not they are going to co-parent amicably and, again, in the children's best interest. And then if you cannot do that, it will go to court and be investigated and referred further to the family advocate, for example. And it's difficult because both parties are, it's always if it's hostile, the environment, then it can take a few years to actually settle and reach a stage where parties can co-parent and co-parent well together. But I think, you must be willing to sit down, and that's why the family advocate's role is so important, because they play a huge mediation role between the parties to try and reach some sort of compatible arrangement for parties, for children as well. And it can take time. It's very difficult when parties don't communicate. And that's why we always need a third party like the family advocate to step in and assist with these matters, and ultimately then the children's court to finalize and enforce an order at the end of the day.
Especially because of the ramification that this has on the children, as you said. Shaatirah, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Legal Resources Centre attorney Shaatirah Baboo there for us.